Good morning. This is the 20th of May, 2020, Wednesday morning. And I'm making this video for the HOA, for my neighbors, for any court appearance I may have in the future. I have a unique situation here that I'm documenting. I've been documenting it for years. And this is to preempt or in preparation. If I get any more letters from the HOA, I'll have this video immediately ready to go out. I'm going to go load it on YouTube. I'll make it unlisted so it'll only be sent to the HOA first. But if I don't get a response from the HOA, or if I get a negative response, or if I get fines and discipline and things like that, I have this video. And I'm going to try to be as complete as I can with what's going on, why I have to do this job, and why it looks like such an eyesore from the street. You don't understand, but it's an eyesore to me. You have to have knowledge that I have to understand the eyesore that I see. These two houses, finished floor elevations, are 3 inches apart. The house on the left is 3 inches below the house on the right, finished floor elevation. I have to preface this every video with the fact that this house right here is out of compliance for the finished floor elevation, which affects the grading and the drainage of the surface water off the lot, and it affects the sewer pipe efficiency to the main sewer pipe going down the street. That finished floor elevation was calculated years ago by an engineer who knew the depth of the sewer pipe at the street, and he adjusted the finished floor elevation for this lot accordingly so that this lot and this house would have an equal angle geometry, would have equal geometry to that sewer pipe in the street as that house. Because this house got lowered 3 inches, when they laid the pad. They couldn't get the pad laid. The people who lay pads, they're contractors, that union or that journeyman group that lay pads, they're independent of the builder. The builder sublets that out, or they sub that pad laying out to a contractor, and that pad cannot, those contractors that lay pads, they only lay what's on the permit. If it isn't on the permit, we're not touching, we're laying whatever the permit says. So because of that, there's a footprint in the history of this title for this, and right now it's a cloud on the title of this lot, because I'm paying a sewer fee for sewer pipes that were intentionally, I was saddled with poor geometry. Just like you'd handicap a horse in a race. You give him a saddle that's weighted. You weight him on a long race to make him equal, or not equal, less than equal with the rest of the field. Okay? That's what happened when the builder got together with a bureaucrat downtown and deviated from the master plan, deviated from the blueprint for this house and this lot. That master blueprint, master plan said, and on the front page of the grading document, it's like a 50 page document, the grading map that has all the finished floor elevations for every house in the community is on that document. And on that document, it says this house is supposed to be 3 inches higher than it is. And I finally got my hands on the permit, the legal permit that was issued for that house, this house. And when you do the extrapolation, you extrapolate the numbers using their scale, which they use, it comes out to a 3-inch difference mathematically. When you look at what the permit says and you do the math, it comes out as a 3-inch difference. I have water levels. If I go from one patio to the other patio or one finished floor to the other with the water levels, this one's 3 inches below. So the house is out of compliance. I've been paying taxes, dues, and I've been hobbled with a house that has a cloud on the title. And the reason is I haven't been able to sell it. I had a for sale sign on it. It's not that I'm being unreasonable on the price. But when I start telling people that the house, I have to disclose to you that they permitted the builder to drop this house 3 inches to deviate from the master plan. What that caused, the cause and effect of dropping that 3 inches is all the water from this house, that 12 feet that it travels from there to there, from that house to that house, is a 3-inch difference. Now, I'm going to review what I'm going through here. And the reason I have to go through this, and it's the 3rd time I've done it, all my labor, all my time seems like for the last 4, 5, 6 years is trying to correct this. Now, I'm going to show you right here my work that was done 5 years ago. You see all this packed down? You see this tarp, this plastic, and this tarp? I have to pull it all back. That's why I'm going to be out there for the next week or all summer long. I'm going to get out here early in the morning all summer long, and I'm going to try to correct this more. Where you see those cables, right there, and where you see the dirt go up to the stucco, where that white pipe is, there used to be 6 inches there. 5 or 6 inches of clearance. And it was just a trough up against that pad where the water would migrate, and I would have a lake 4, sometimes 3 feet, 4 feet wide, a wet area around this pad, and it all came from here. And another thing the builder did is between here and that lighthouse out there, about 20 feet out from both pads, they put a sandbar, a berm that isolated these 2 properties from ever draining onto the golf course. So all the water that came off these roofs, this roof, my neighbor's roofs on both sides, all that water was trapped up here in a retention basin. This house right here, I haven't seen all the other ones in the neighborhood, but I would venture to guess, I would bet any money, I think it would probably be even odds that this is the lowest finished floor elevation in all of parcel 12. It's the lowest floor elevation in all parcel 12. Now, this was all done 5 years ago, and I covered it up once. But I'll send you a video of one of the last storms we had. One of the last storms that went through here a couple of months ago, I think it was March 13th. It was the 3rd day of storms. The first day we got a storm, it got the water on the lots, and the lots got damp and a little saturated. Second day, all the lots up here got a little more saturated. On the 3rd day is when we got the most intense storm. For about 20 minutes, it came down at a rate, could have been 1 inch an hour, 2 inches an hour for about 20 minutes. Well, in that period of time, I had lakes all over my house again. So I haven't fixed it. Okay, I'm still not able, and the reason I'm pushing this rock uphill, the reason I have to push this rock uphill to try to get the water from here to the street is because somebody was dishonest. The dishonesty to me of not disclosing to me, not getting my permission. I had a contract on this house on the day they got the permit to lower it 3 inches. I signed the contract for that house on the 7th of December 2003 is when I bought the house intent. I gave them $2,000. I picked the lot. And then about 3 weeks later, at New Year's, I came down with another check for $28,000 because we had written a cash deal that I was going to have installments while it was being built, and I did. So my first installment, they had $30,000 of my money, okay? The leverage they had on me, they had not only 30, but they had leverage. I was never going to be able to walk away from this deal. If I ever walked away from the deal, I was going to lose $30,000. And it wasn't like I was doing this on credit. If I would have been doing it on credit, say I would have had $4,000 or $5,000 into it, if somebody would have told me the day before I closed, you know, they messed with the floor elevation, they never told you. They did it on purpose. They needed a place to park water up there, and you're it. You're an outsider. You're not from around here. You're not a townie. And we're open for business. That golf course, we don't want to ever have it interrupted because of water damage. Of all those houses up there draining on the course and shutting down the course. It's not going to be a skid plate in the monsoon. So, the highest and best use of Tract A and those lots up there is to store water north of the 6th hole and north of the 6th tee. It's the ladies' tee. Okay? We have to protect the ladies' tee. We have to put a place to store water. And we have this loser from out of town that was dumb enough to give us $30,000 up front. He actually I guess he didn't get the word about Buckeye. He's not from around here. If he wasn't from around here, he wouldn't be dealing with people with Buckeye by giving them cash up front. I hope everybody in Arizona understands that. Buckeye's got the worst reputation. Well, anyway, this tarp right here, I'm going to try to take the rock back. I'm going to sift it through here. I've told you in other videos, and I'm going to tell you right now, this rock right here, I had this job done. That tarp went down last year. I did all the grading 5 or 6 years ago. As soon as I found out through due diligence, I went and got the blueprints for the community, and then I got my hands on the permit, and they don't agree. It'd be like going to get an emissions test with your car, and when the guy looked on the car, on the ID on the dash of the car, and matched it up to the paperwork, it didn't match. So you failed emissions. That's basically what happens when you look at the permit and you look at the blueprint for the master blueprint, the master controlled document for the community. There's a mismatch. So I failed the effluent test to the street. If there was a test that, and just by walking in, as soon as they see, well, the finished floor elevation doesn't match the master document for the community, which says you can't touch a finished floor elevation, forbidden. Note 4 on the front page. Note 4 on the front page of the grading document, the master grading document with all the signatures and stamps and approvals, all that paperwork buried in there. If you look, and I did, I happen to understand maps, and I can do the forensic. When I did the forensic and realized that this house was 3 inches out, I went to lawyers, and the lawyers gave me absolutely no remedy. Their only remedy is give me $20,000 before I hear any more of your story. Give me $20,000 as a retainer and expect 2 years and $200,000 to fix this. So I decided 4 years ago I'll sell it. But I'm going to sell it honestly. I'm not going to do to someone that buys my house for the price I want for it. I'm not going to let them buy this house thinking that they have a 100% complete legal sewer pipes or lot drainage. And whenever I've gone through about a dozen realtors, I've gone through a dozen local realtors from Buckeye, and when I tell them that I think track day, they changed the highest and best use of track day. I don't have the use of it as a golf cart access, and it doesn't drain. It's another retention basin built above the ladies' tee box to protect the ladies' tee. But this is a rock I'm pushing uphill. I've made this, I've explained it. I'm going to make one daily as I progress. But, like I said, any letter I get in the future, every time I start a project on my lot to try to fix the drainage, I'm afraid to go to the mailbox. I have a phobia about going to the mailbox every time I start a project like this to fix the drainage that I realize is wrong, and nobody will let me tell them about the drainage. That's why I was removed from the membership of the HOA, as long as we don't hear his explanation of what's wrong with the house, or he goes out and hires a lawyer. I'm not going to attempt to put this down on paper or make a legal letter to try to get leverage to fix this on my own. I got to pay a lawyer. And I'm not going to let a lawyer threaten or lawyer imply that we're going to court next, because I can't afford to go into court. It'd be useless to have me to have a lawyer write it. All he's doing is organizing the thoughts and getting it out to the people. But like I said, I'm making this video. It's going to go on YouTube. I'm trying to get my neighbors on my street to realize what they lost when they put the sign up at track day and the rocks in. You got your pockets picked. Your first class lab is now in the back of the plane. You got to go out to the 7th tee box every day to use the lab. Mr. Veskerna came in here, and with the HOA's help and the town of Buckeye's help, they took away your first class lab in your seating area. And now you have to go to the back of the plane every time you want to use the lab. That's what I think of all the golfers in parcel 12 that go the long way. The people that live right next to track day will drive almost a quarter of a mile out of their way to use the coach lab over there on the 7th tee. They displace people off the walkway. Anybody that's walking on the walkway, whether they're walking the dog, it's a mother with a carriage walking a carriage, two people holding hands walking, when that couple in a golf cart going from the 7th tee up to Moonlight Path or the other one into parcel 12, I think it's kind of disturbing that people are out there walking on a path, have to get off the path so a golfer can get to his house in parcel 12 using the 7th tee box, and the public access, that's a public walkway. Parcel 12 has its own dedicated, on paper, the original draft, the highest and best use of track day was as a drain, golf cart access. It was supposed to be an urban model. The only trouble is they weren't selling to urban people. They were selling to Midwest farmers who have 100 acres, 200 acre plus farms, and they want to bring the Midwest. And if they got here early enough, they were able to tie up the lots on that track day. Track day was taken out of business. It was deactivated. There was a mod done on it. There was a mod done that was a shadow mod because there's no paperwork or permitting for it. Okay? Go to page 49 of the grading map for this community. Go to page 49 for the grading map of this community. It's a close-up of track day. This is Wednesday morning, the 20th of May, 2020. Good morning. This is the 21st of May, 2020. It's about 6:30 in the morning, early, and I'm on Twilight Trail in Parcel 12. And what you're looking at is a piano keyboard. The analogy is every one of those lots that you see is a key on a piano keyboard as you come down the street. And each lot and each house has to be in tuned. And what I mean by in tune is it has to have at least the gravity or the geometry difference of the finished floor elevation not going below the stated finished floor elevation on the master document for the community. Every one of these lots, before any house was ever built on them, the finished floor elevation, the finished floor elevation for the lot was calculated 17, 18 years ago for every lot, and its reference was the sewer pipe. As the sewer pipe goes down the street, every house has to have gravity to get to that sewer pipe. And proper gravity, every one of those houses come down the street, I haven't seen their permit to build a house, but the permit tells what the finished elevation of the finished floor elevation of the as-built house is on the permit. Okay, I assume every house coming down the street has a proper permit, but as we get closer, I just want to let you know, I know for certain that that house is 2 inches below what the community document called for 17 years ago. And this house that I bought, these were the first two houses bought. These were the first 2 lots. These were the first two pads that were laid, were right here. The first 2 pads in this neighborhood of 60 plus houses, the first 2 that were laid was that house and this house. That house, by my measurement and my calculation, is 2 inches lower than the master document, and this one for sure is 3 inches lower. I know it's 3 inches lower because I've measured it with a water level and I have the permit, and when you do the math on the permit and extrapolate it out on the permit, it's 3 inches low. So they purposely made this lot 3 inches low, so the tuning of the sewer pipes is out of tune for both of these houses. In other words, they sold me a knockoff. They sold me a knockoff house. They sold me a house that didn't meet all the specs. Then one of the most important spec is the sewage, because the sewage is a passive system. It relies on gravity. Without the proper gravity, head pressure, whatever you want to call it, geometry, it doesn't work. And what you've done to me is you put sand in my saddle. I've been handicapped now for ever since I've been here with faulty sewer pipes that are out of compliance with the master document. This house sits 3 inches low. I've had to do all kinds of work on the yards, regrading, resculpting, putting condoms. Now I'm going to go over and we're going to talk about this condom, the third application of a condom on my lot. And I hate to use those terms, but that's exactly what I have to do. Since this house is 3 inches lower than this house, and they're supposed to be exactly the same height, all the water when it would rain would migrate over here. And then they put a berm between me and that lighthouse out there, a berm between my patios and the golf course. They engineered a shadow, redneck, homegrown retention basin up on these lots. This was homegrown engineering, redneck, white trash, whatever you want to call it, knuckle-dragging, one-eyed ape engineering that they destroyed an emergency system. Tract A is for emergency overflow of water. It is drain relief for this corner. And they purposely, when they found out they had $30,000 of my money and I couldn't get my money back, they had leverage on me. For me to walk away from the deal, I would have had to walk away from $30,000, but I didn't know about it. They never disclosed to me that they went outside of the standard for the community by lowering my house. It was never disclosed to me. Now I'm having trouble. There isn't one realtor in Buckeye, once I explained to him what happened, wants to take this listing. Because I insist on being honest. The dishonesty in this corner has to stop. Okay, Tract A doesn't drain. It's a retention basin up here that's been installed. It was a cob job after it got written up by Woody Skelton. Okay, but to tell you what I did, what you're looking at here, all that packed stuff is packed. 5 years ago, I was on my hands and knees with a level. On my hands and knees with a level, going 6 inches at a time, all the way down this wall, building up, putting a bank up against this wall to make the water settle in the middle. And then I regraded all this. This, what you're looking at, is a condom. This is the third condom, and I've got more. Now, I put this plastic down 6 years ago. And about 1.5 years ago, I put that down. Now I got to do it again because the last rain we had on the 13th of March was a third day of a 3-day rainstorm, and it was very intense, and I had lakes everywhere. I had a lake right here. I had a lake there. I had lakes all over my lot because of what was the dishonesty that was visited on me 17 years ago when they decided to lower this house. That patio right there you're looking at, on paper, is supposed to be exactly the same elevation as that patio. Go get your laser levels. I've got water levels. There's a 3-inch difference. And when you take the mathematical figure, the figure that's on the permit, and check the difference between that and the figure that's on the master plan for the neighborhood, there's a 3-inch difference when you do the math. It's 3 inches, period. You sold me a knockoff. You did it on purpose. You did a little white-collar crime, a little pushing the pencil, a paper acquisition. It fell off the truck, skim, looting, whatever you want to call it. You captured that lady's tee box, and you dedicated everything up in this corner to protect the lady's tee box from runoff. That's why you put a berm across my lot. Between me and that swing set and that lighthouse was a berm that was higher than both of these patios. When all the water, when we get an intense rainstorm, I would have a lake around this patio, 4 feet wide, because it was the lowest patio. My neighbor's patio is 1 inch higher than mine. That house over here is 1 inch higher than mine. And these are the levels. You see these? Let me show you how this works. These are 7 years old. I built these 7 years ago to do that work, and I have 3 of them, all different lengths. But, show you what I did. Alright, you'll see the bubble is well past the left line. Okay, and that's how I go. So I know I've got positive flow down to the middle. It didn't happen. The bubble went the other way until this is all dirt, sand that I brought in here on my hands and knees. Screeding on my hands and knees according to the bubble, and then I would come over with water in a tamper. It took me all summer long. All my neighbors saw me doing it. I have to do it again. You know why? Because I didn't do it right. That last storm we got on the 13th, I had lakes everywhere on my property. I'm trying to fix it. Now, those tarps that you saw inside, I'll go in and see them again. But I'm going to be taking this tarp up. It's going down again. I'll salvage what I can of that plastic. It's going down again. I've got 2 or 3 brand new tarps that I have in the garage that once I get this all sculpted again to where everything is by the level, I'm going to take my time and do it. So please, don't send me any letters. The reason I have to do all this work and the reason my yard is all tore up is because this house is out of compliance with the master document. Okay? These redneck engineers, these home growers sold me a knockoff house 17 years ago, and they figured nobody will ever figure this out. Nobody will ever figure this out. How could he ever figure it out? I'll tell you how I figured it out. The first thing I did was bring a surveyor over here. And the first thing the surveyor did after looking, he said, they made you it. I've seen it before. I said, what are you talking about? He said, they made you it. All the water I can see by eye, all the water comes to right here on your lot. They're using your lot to store water in a storm. And he told me to go get the community plans, Freedom of Information Act, and I went downtown Buckeye and I got all the plans, the roof plans, all the master documents for this community. And then one thing it says is this house is 3 inches out of compliance with the master document. The permit, whoever signed the permit and whoever applied for the permit lowered this house on purpose 3 inches, which affected the sewer pipe. The sewer pipes are permanently and forever out of compliance with the master document. I have to live with this. I have to live with this. I've been to the lawyers. The lawyer said it's going to cost you $200,000 to fix this if you do it alone. And to fix track day, to get track day back in compliance as an access easement for golf carts, an emergency access easement, to get it draining properly. The only way you're going to get track day to drain properly is get rid of the ladies' tee box. Restore everything the way it was when it was planned out in Phoenix 18 years ago. It got out here and it simply, the people in Buckeye said, this plan doesn't work for us, for this corner. We've got a couple of gentlemen or a couple of friends up there that we want to give those 2 big lots on each side of track day to, exclusively. They're going to be theirs. We're going to take it out of service. And we're going to lower Mr. Lasham's house because we've got $30,000 of his money. He's not one of us. He's from California. He's not a townie. We feed on California. That's what Californians were made for, so that people in Buckeye could feed on them. Okay? Well, they fed on me. They drafted me. When they took that plan, that permit, and lowered my house 3 inches, it's the same as being drafted forever and ever. I was drafted by the civil engineers here in Buckeye, the redneck, white trash, skank engineers here in Buckeye that decided that they were going to make me pay for the rest of the time I owned this house by being the surface water bitch, and also my sewer pipes are going to be out of compliance forever and ever. So if I ever have to call Roto-Rooter, and that's why I insist on telling any new buyer that if you ever have problems with your sewer, send a bill to the town of Buckeye or the city of Buckeye Water Department. Because they're the ones that are charging you the bill for the sewer pipes, and the sewer pipes were built out of compliance on purpose 18 years ago to satisfy some local idiots out here that were going to do a land grab. That's all this is. It's a land grab. It's a Buckeye land grab. It's these golf pros out here, the golf gods, that think that golf is more important than anything else, and we're going to grab some land. That's exactly what happened. So, please don't send me any letters, because I'm going to keep putting this on YouTube. And eventually some lawyer is going to feel sorry. If it's not a lawyer, maybe it'll be an investigative reporter that got his ass kicked out here in Buckeye because he came out and asked the mayor something one day. He probably got a police escort out of town and was told never come back. I can imagine that happening because I live in Buckeye, okay? But I'll stop for now. Like I said, this is the 21st of May, 2020. This is the mess I'm into. It's my third application of a condom and resculpturing this property here to get the water off of it. And the reason I have to do it is because of the dishonesty that was laid on me by a bunch of skank engineers out here, some homegrown rednecks, stars and bars waving rednecks that saw me as a Californian and who had given them $30,000. He can't back out. We got him. We'll teach those Californians. We'll fix them. Yeah. Well, not only a Californian, I'm a New Yorker, and I know what the plat map says. The plat map for this and the documents for this community says this house is supposed to be 3 inches higher, and it's not. And nobody will let me explain. When I go downtown, I go to the second floor where all the engineers are. They won't let me talk to an engineer until I give them my name. And as soon as I give them my name, nobody will come out and talk to me. I've been kicked out of the HOA because the HOA officially, from me, hasn't been notified about this on paper. I've done it in videos, but they fall back on their mantra, we don't have time to look at your videos. Put it on paper and have me make a fool out of myself trying to document this on paper. Whoever puts this on paper has to be a lawyer that's an expert in construction fraud, because this is what it is. This was construction fraud. And as far as being damaged, the fact that I've been trying to sell it for 4 years and no realtor of Buckeye will take the listing unless I withhold the fact that this house is built wrong. Unless I let the guy think that he's buying a really good house that's not a knockoff, they won't list it for me. And their rationale is, it's been this way for so long, why do you want to start trouble? Why do you want to start trouble? And it's the same with Tract A. Tract A does not agree with the plat map. It's out of compliance with the plat map. There's nothing on the plat map that says there should be a sign saying no golf carts when other access easements in the community allow golf carts. This is dispensation for this corner and parcel 12. And the dispensation is to keep the people who bought on each side of Tract A happy. These aren't New Yorkers that are used to dealing with rubbing elbows. These are people that when they come from the Midwest, they come from a farm. They don't have golf carts going by their patio on their farm, and they don't want to see them here, even though they bought in an urban model. This was an urban model set up for urban living. We were all members of the community. Everything, all the properties in common were to have access to. And that access on Tract A was sold to me on paper and in person as the way I was going to get on and off the golf course if I bought this house. There was a cart path going from the tee box up to parcel 12 on the day that I signed the papers. And a lot of people who bought, they had that cart path going up there for probably a year and a half, 2 years. So everybody that bought, when they bought, they thought, well, gee, that's how I'm going to get out. It isn't until they take possession of the house that some concentration camp SS officer, female SS officer, come dancing up in her high heels, clicking the tile floor all the way with her nice blue blazer on, and looks down at you and says, you're going to use the coach lab. That lab is out of service. And what I'm talking about lab is I bought these lots with the expectation that 40 feet away from my lots would be a cart path onto the golf course. On the day that I bought the lots, that was all filled in with trees, shrubs, and the cart path was taken out of service. And when I question anybody about it, they says you have to use the public. You have to go back to the coach lab. Even though you got a first-class seat right here on the lake, facing the lake on the signature hole, we're not going to we took that mod. We did a mod 17 years ago. We did a cost-cutting mod, and a friend, we set up an entitlement for the golf course with the ladies' tee. They get a brand new ladies' tee with irrigation and everything, and the people on each side of track day get a tax-free, maintenance-free, water-free green belt botanical garden between their houses that's totally private. Totally private, all to themselves. But the plat map says it isn't supposed to be totally private. The plat map says it's supposed to be a drain, an access easement. I was the first one to try to use it. I used it 5 days in a row, and on the 5th day I got arrested. I got arrested for missing a court date that I never got served on. After spending 4 days and 3 nights in the 4th Avenue jail with Joe Arpaio's 4th Avenue jail, when I got out and got in court in Buckeye, downtown Buckeye, this judge called Michael Lester holds up my summons. I told him, I said, I never knew about a court date. Well, you were arrested for missing a court date, assault. I never knew about a court date. He goes, of course you didn't. Here's your summons. Well, how can you arrest me for missing a court date? This is Buckeye. We can do whatever we want. Okay? The ends justify the means. It's no different than what Flynn, everybody's crying about what the FBI did to Flynn, that they entrapped him. How about what you did to me here in Buckeye? You arrested me on a warrant that I never got served on. I got a video of a policeman telling a private citizen until any paperwork is served, it's illegal. It isn't legal until the person gets served. I would assume that any warrant or any summons for a court until I get served, how can you arrest me for it? That's exactly what happened, and nobody, Craig Hustis, the mayor, Charlie Waters, the HOA, all my neighbors, even my friends and family, said you brought it on yourself. You rattled their cage. You went after corporate America. You deserve what you got. Well, I might have done all that rhetoric might be true, but I'll tell you one thing is fact. This house is out of compliance with the master plan, the blueprint for the neighborhood. It was done on purpose by a bunch of rednecks out here, okay? A bunch of Dukes of Hazzards. The Dukes of Hazzard, if you want to, this is Mayberry, this is the set of Hee Haw, you name it. This is Wild, Wild West, primitive. Primitive. No oversight. We make our own rules, okay? Everything out here is tribal knowledge. This is what the tribal knowledge was. There was a core group in the builders and the HOA that knew this all along. That for 8 years I sent in my dues, and they were laughing, slapping their knee, laughing that they said, he don't know. We fooled him. He hasn't got a clue what we did to him. That went on for years. Well, now I know. I know what you did, and I'm going to keep making videos and posting them. Thank you very much. This is for my neighbors and anybody that's thinking about buying in an HOA. Believe me, don't get on their bad side. Once you raise your voice or stick your head out of a hole, they have to shut you up. And they'll do anything to pacify you and silence you. They'll ruin your house. They'll ruin your civil record. Anything they can do. And when they go to an executive session, that's a lodge meeting, where they can go in and blackball whoever they want, anonymously, with impunity. Nobody's going to say anything. If they keep the secret, they all keep the secret. It's done. It's a lodge meeting. It is an executive session. They go in and they look at your life. They look at how much money you got in the bank, if you've got any bills outstanding, if you're in bankruptcy, if you're financial trouble. They look at your health records. Is he on the way out? And I'm sure they look at my police record. I never had a police record until I got the Buckeye. At 64 years old, I first got my first conviction with a police record for assault because a golfer walked onto my property, trespassed. I escorted him off. He turned around and charged me. I had to tackle him to get him off me. But he had the golf course on his side. He's got the HOA on his side. He's got the police department on his side. I'm a problem because I want track day back. I don't have a golf cart. I never will buy a golf cart. I'll never buy a round of golf here, ever. And I'll never invite anybody here to play golf here. That's something up until when I found out what happened and what the golf course did years ago. And it isn't the current management of the golf course. You guys had nothing to do with it. It's the old guys. But I want you to know what happened. So if I act like if I got a sour puss when the police come up to my door, and that's another thing. I keep this video camera right in the window by my front door. Any policeman that come up to my house, unless he's got a warrant to pull me out of my house, is going to be talking to this camera through the screen. Okay? Unless he has a warrant that says you have to leave your house and come out, he's going to be talking to me with us through the screen. Okay? But this is what I deal with. And now all my time for the rest of the summer is it's got to be right. And if it isn't right, I'm not going to finish it. So from here to the street, all this rock is going to go through that sifter. All this rock is going to go through that sifter as I moved and sculpt toward the sidewalk. So please don't send me any letters because I'm going to start sending all this information to the lawyers. I've been hoping that there would be an adult on the board, some adult that would understand the implications here of what took place with this non-compliance of this house. Okay? I can't afford right now to go get a lawyer on my own. I don't have Donald Trump's money and connections. Okay? But someday, some lawyer may want to look into this, or an investigative reporter. There's a lot more to come. Thank you for your time. Okay, this is the 28th of May, Thursday the 28th of May, 2020. I'm making this video for myself, for any civil authorities, any court, any lawyer, and I'm making it for the HOA and the people who run the HOA. I've been looking at this eyesore now for a couple of weeks, and I'm sure you have been too. I'm sure my neighbors and people in the architectural committee are wondering just what the hell is going on. What's this guy doing over there? Why has he got this property so opened up? Well, this video is to inform the HOA. It's going to be sent to the HOA and it'll be made public so that the members of the community can see what I'm doing. But off there in the distance, the wheelbarrow, that's a sifting mechanism. That little cart next to him is where I take sifted rock and put it in the cart and then I distribute it. Now, what you're looking at here and all this plastic is work that I did 6 years ago. I went and got the community master blueprints for the community from the town hall. And through due diligence and interpreting and getting my hands on the actual signed stamp permit for this house, I found out that this house was built 3 inches low. Outside of the specifications of the master document, the master plan, that master plan, that master grading plan is part of the CC&R package. That master plan has every finished floor elevation in the community. Of its 1,100 houses in active senior adult, there's 1,100 finished floor elevations that were calculated once the sewers went in. Once the as-built sewers went in, the engineers engineered the sewer connections to the master sewer pipe that went down the street. And they put a minimum, for the sake of gravity and for the sake of everybody getting an equal chance to move their sewage to the street, a minimum level was set for every elevation, every house. Every house before it was even built. 2 years before anybody ever looked at a house or was able to buy a house here, the finished floor established, the finished floor elevations for all the houses that were to be built and bought were already established. Okay, it was on the blueprint, the finished floor. Well, for some reason, and I can't get anybody at the city hall or the HOA or anyone to talk to me, or any civil engineer to talk to me as to why this house is 3 inches low, why this house is not spec to the blueprint. This house is supposed to be the same elevation as that house. It's 3 inches lower. Because of that, whenever I had a storm, and until I found that fact out, that this house was intentionally built outside of the specification for its finished floor elevation, it was intentionally lowered by the builder and permitted by a bureaucrat in downtown Buckeye about, well, let's see, it was January of 2004, so that was over 16 years ago. Somebody stamped and put their signature on a permit that established the finished floor elevation of this house 3 inches below spec, the specification. I can't get anybody to talk to me. Every time I go into engineering second floor in Buckeye, nobody will talk to me. As soon as I give them my name, you have an engineering floor that probably has 35 or 40 engineers on it, and not one of them is home. Whenever I give the lady out front my name, when she says, "Who is it?" I say, "Seward Lasham," and all of a sudden nobody's home. So, and Craig Hustis, after I found this fact out at a meeting, that meeting where they were discussing the new upgrades to the senior center, where they were talking about the new paint job and stuff like that, that was about 3 years ago, where they were going to spend $75,000 to upgrade the senior center, well, or the adult center. Well, on that day, I approached Craig Hustis with updated information, since I had found out that this house is built outside of spec, and I had the proof, I had the permit, I had the blueprint, I had the maps, I had the grading document, I had the utility document. I went downtown and paid money for those, Freedom of Information Act, so I have all the plans. And on that day, when I approached Craig Hustis and said, "I have new information," he says, "I don't want you to bring it into my office. I don't want you coming into my office starting trouble with a bunch of maps and documents." And that was the end of it. So I can't get any help downtown. Nobody will talk to me. The last time I went down there, the electrical engineer for the town threatened to call the police on me because he thought I was making a scene, because I was waiting until somebody would talk to me. I sat outside and I was waiting. I waited there for quite a long time, and I wasn't going to go away until some engineer came out and talked to me. So he called me on the cell phone. and threatened to call the police on me because I was making a scene. So, as far as getting any help from the city of Buckeye as to why this was lowered, or getting any help from Craig Hustis, who basically told me, don't come near me with any maps or documents that I have to look at. Well, that was about 5 years ago. So, 5 years ago, the way this house was set up, the way that foundation was set up, there was a lot more clearance between the dirt and the stucco. Some places 6 inches or more. So they had a channel up against that house where all the water, when it came off of this house and came off the roofs, and I didn't have gutters then, all the water would pool up against this foundation. I would have a moat, a lake around my house in severe storms. Very severe storms, when they came down fast and hard, all the water would migrate over here. So 6 years ago, I decided I was going to put a condom. I was going to resculpt this and put a condom. What you're looking at, all that dirt right there, is my sculpture, me being Michelangelo, on my hands and knees with a level and a screed, screeding out the dirt, and then going back with water and a tamper and tamping it down and adding more dirt to get a channel to get the water to the street. Well, what I'm going to do is, it's not working properly. I still have to, what happened was last year, and all this plastic is 6 years old. I had the plastic like over here. I thought I was going to put a condom on my lot and get all the water from seeping into the ground and soaking under this foundation. I would sculpture it on my hands and knees, get all the water running to the middle, and then the middle down to the street and off the property. All this dirt right here, for the 4 feet from the wall, 4 or 5 feet out from the wall, all along this, I was on my hands and knees and tamping it and sculpturing it so the water would settle in the middle and then run out onto the street. And then I put, you can see how much work, time, money, investment I put into this to try to cover that. That's 6 mil plastic. Over that I had tar paper. And then last year I came out and I put these blue tarps. That's a blue and silver tarp from Walmart. I put that over last year because it wasn't working. And what happened was, and the reason I'm doing this is I've got a leak. So I can never do this again. I can't put plastic or a condom over my lot to keep the water from seeping under my foundations, because they defeated the gravity that takes the water off the lot. Okay, this house is low. It's a knockoff house. It was built out of compliance on purpose so that they could store water up here, okay, to protect the golf course. But what I have is a leak right there. Where that puddle is, there's a 1/2 inch builder's special sprinkler system that blew a leak. And that's why I'm digging all this out. My water bills come in, they were a little bit off, and I was wondering why, so I start walking around the houses on the other side of the house. I've got it tore up because the way the builder built the house, they put the plumbing and the water panel on the other side of the house, so you have a long run underground. But this pile of dirt right here is basically what I got when I ordered 3 tons of dirt. Last year I was going to re-landscape. Once I thought all this was fixed, I'm having pretty good luck with the storms. I'm going to bring in some dirt. I'm going to top everything off. I had some more landscaping to do in the back. So I ordered 3 tons of dirt from the local supplier. I got 1 ton of rock, 1 ton of sand, and 1 ton of pea gravel. And that's what you're looking at right there. So after doing all this sculpting work and being very careful to have drainage stone that drained When the guy delivered that rock, this was supposed to be 3 tons of rock, instead of sort of stringing it along the sidewalk so that the 3 ton, a few little piles along the sidewalk, he just tipped up his truck, dumped it all right there in one spot. I had rock covering 3/4 of the street. I had to get it off the street as soon as I could, so I started pouring it, putting it here just to get it off the street. And as you can see, it's filled with dirt. It's filled with dirt, sand that doesn't drain, that inhibits drainage. So, anyway, I get the water bill, I find out I've got a water mess, and I'm going to walk over right now and introduce you to the problem I'm dealing with over there. And this is for the HOA. This is for the HOA, the architectural committee, the people, the police, your HOA police, the pit bulls that will get in a truck and they drive around here looking for people to prey on, right? All right. I'm doing the best I can. There was 2 leaks on this side of the house. This is another application. I did this 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I went and I sculpted an angle so that the water would run away from the pad, and I covered it, as you can see, with plastic and tar paper, and then I covered it with rock. Well, the other day when I got the water bill and I saw everything was messed up, I started going looking for leaks. So where you see that sand right there, there was a leak there. And when you chase a leak, it's a treasure hunt. You see puddles and you don't know where the leak is coming from. Like I chased this leak right here. That sand was a leak. I've got it spliced and repaired. But all the way through here where you see this all tore up, I tore this up looking for that leak. Now, all this plastic, all this stuff, all this rock, and again, putting more rock with sand. This is my property. I should make it drain. I've got it all tore up. Now that I see that whenever you put plastic and tar paper down, you're going to miss leaks. So this little thing of putting a condom on a lot anymore, I'm not going to do it. I got the rest of the summer, the rest of my life to pull all this rock away from the foundation, sift it so that it's good drainage rock. I'll go back over, I'll tamp it all down so it's a good hard surface that the water will shut off, and then I'm going to cover it with landscape fabric. But anymore trying to cover it with plastic and put a condom on it to keep the water from underneath the foundation, because I have improper drainage to the street, improper drainage to the golf course. They set it up that way. So, for the architectural committee, for Caroline, for anybody, the long-term planning, I'm going to be doing this for the rest of the summer. It's just me, okay? It's just me. I do my own work. I don't play golf. Now, to continue this lecture, I've got to sculpt, getting water away from this foundation here, down to here. And I've got a drain, a 4-inch drain, that is somewhere between my patio and this patio. This patio is 3 inches lower than that patio, and it's not supposed to be. It didn't blueprint out that way. They played with it. They tampered with my sewer pipes. I can't get a realtor to list this house and put on the document or put on the listing that the house is built 3 inches low. outside of the blueprints for the community. No realtor will go near it. I've gone through it about 10 or a dozen realtors. They're all excited about the thought of possibly getting this listing. See the lake, the signature hole, things like that. Well, the signature on this signature hole, the signature is the signature you did to this house right here. You put your Buckeye signature on tampering with my sewer pipes. I can't sell this house. No realtor will list it. No one will go near it, okay? And I have to do all this work over again. This is the third time. The third time in 6 years now I've got to rework this yard. All this plastic has to go up, so the money I got invested in that, who gots? Down there, all that plastic, all those tarps are going to come up. I have brand new tarps that I thought I was going to put down, but this water leak has proved to me you can't put plastic down. Because if you ever get a leak, you'll never find it. It won't show up. It'll stay underneath the plastic. Okay, so I have this little experiment, and I want to remind you, since nobody in Buckeye or nobody HOA or anything like that, or no trained, formal engineer with documents and part of the Buckeye engineering community will come near me and talk to me and give me any suggestions of how I fix this. Okay, how do I fix this? I got about 3 years of labor and thousands of dollars into my lots here trying to get them to drain property because, and I've been trying to fix it on my own because once Craig Hughes told me, I don't want you in my office with maps and documents. And every time I've gone downtown, it's happened like 3 times now, when I go downtown and give him my name, nobody's home, nobody will talk to me. And the last time I was there, he threatened to call the cops and have me arrested for making a scene in City Hall. I'm making a scene because I can't get anybody to talk to me and tell me why these documents don't line up. How come my permit that I have possession, I have the building permit that was issued for this house, and its finished floor elevation is 3 inches off from the blueprint for the neighborhood? I have to deal with this. And I'm paying a sewer bill on sewer pipes that are out of compliance. I've spent all this money and time on all this bullshit trying to fix something that's unfixable. It should be condemned. It should be condemned. It doesn't match. It's out of compliance. There's no time limit on compliance. And another thing that this lot is burdened with is socially engineered drive-by shootings. This is drive-by shootings that are socially engineered by the golf course. And there's no defense. I can't do anything about it. I'm stuck day in, day out with a roster of novice, amateur, first time, whatever, beginner golfers that right now where I'm standing, this is my property line. These are my properties. It goes all the way down to the end of the bushes. It goes that house right there. What am I? Less than a 40-degree angle offline from that tee box right there. And I'm about, from the tee right now, 60 yards away, and they're trying to hit that 140 yards. They're trying to hit it 140 yards, and I'm only 60 yards away. This is engineered drive-by. Everybody in the clubhouse, all the pros know that sometime during the day today, somebody's going to miss-hit a ball off those tees back there, and when it goes and lands in my yard or breaks one of my windows or injures one of my guests, it's an accident. This is an engineered drive-by. This is white trash golf. This is white trash golf where they can put any kind of a golfer there. There's no policing. The trouble is with this golf course is it's wide open. The inmates run the asylum. There's no marshal to tell a young foursome that's hitting 4 balls off every tee and taking them a half an hour, 45 minutes to play every hole because they don't know what they're doing on the green or around the green, or they don't have the etiquette. And the last thing that's on their mind is pace of play. Now, when you get a group like that ahead of your field for the rest of the day, you're not protecting the field. You're not protecting the field. You're not protecting me by allowing people like that to hit 4 balls off every tee who don't know what they're doing. There should be a marshal saying, walk up to them and say, you're stinking up the place. You're stinking up the place. You've got the whole field backed up behind you because you don't know what you're doing. But it's allowed to happen out here in Buckeye. This is another thing that I'm dealing with the HOA, the town, the police, everything else. When my house or my window gets broken, the first thing this policeman says to me, this young policeman, is, well, you realize this was an accident and it was unintentional. Of course it was an accident. Of course the guy didn't do it on purpose. It's the golf course that did it on purpose. The golf course knows that out of a field of 250 golfers, that 200 of them are going to hit more than 1 ball off that tee, and out of the 250, at least 20 balls or 25 are going to be lost to the right. It happens every day. It's part of golf. It's a mishit. And when you take out a window or hit one of the kids or hit one of my guests or break one of my solar panels, you tell me it's an accident. How can it be an accident when it's happening 30 times a day? 30 times a day. This is what patio golf is in Buckeye. This is the Buckeye signature on the Buckeye signature hole. They tampered with somebody's elevation. They took the drainage and the emergency exit for fire, police, medical, in the form of track day. They took that out of service. A policeman was talking to a fellow behind the counter about me on a police video. And the guy behind the counter says, well, you know, he doesn't play golf here. We don't know why, but he's not a golfer. He doesn't come here and play golf. Well, I don't come here and play golf, and I'll never buy a golf cart here or play golf here because I don't want to look as stupid as my neighbors look. I have some of the stupidest neighbors in the world. They're from the Midwest. They're from the Plains State, the Northwest Plains, Idaho, Montana, whatever, Saskatchewan, the upper Midwest, and they're not going to put up a fight, okay? I know the track day is mine. When I bought the house, when I bought this house and the other 3, there was a cart path going up track day. It was there. There's your cart path. If you buy those lots up there, there's your cart path on and off the golf course. It was there for over 1.5 years, 2 years. And so I signed the papers. And as soon as I moved in, the cart path is gone. There's a cart path going up to the neighborhood, but everything's filled in. Where's my cart path? Where's my easement onto the golf course that it was there the day I bought the course? And if you look way over there is the tee box for the 7th hole. I've been paying for over 15 years dues and taxes on a house and sewer bills on a house that they didn't build the spec, that the builder and some guy from Buckeye got together and says, let's defeat 3 inches of his gravity. Let's turn his 12-volt battery that starts his car into a 9-volt battery. Okay? Basically what they did. They stole 3 inches of gravity. That gravity is the force that takes sewage to the street. It's a completely passive, gravity-fed, passive system. No pumps, anything. The pump is gravity. And you tampered with my pump on this house. Not only the gravity for the sewage, but to get the water off my property. All right, I've been dealing with this now for 6 years thinking I can fix it myself, and I can't. I've been tied down with this now, all this labor, and now I'm letting you know, this is going to get all stripped again. I'm going to take all this rock off here and I'm going to store it in piles in my backyard until I need it. But I have to separate and get all the sand and dirt and pebbles out of this rock all the way to the street. Then I'm going to get my levels and I'm going to be real careful with water levels and other levels, and I'm going to sculpt something that may take me all summer. And when I fill it back in, it's going to be covered with landscape fabric and coarse rock that drains. Okay? And I don't want to have any trouble from the HOA, okay? I'm letting you know this has to be done. I'm trying to let you know first. I can take this outside of Buckeye if you want. I can take it outside of Buckeye. I can start interviewing lawyers with all the documents and the paperwork I have. It's all public. And the videos that I've sent you, they're all public videos. They're all public videos. I got proof I sent them to you. And if you want to see what the rest of the public is seeing that I sent to you, I suggest you watch these videos. I'm done with the spiel for this morning. This was about 45 minutes, but this is what I deal with. And this poor little lady that's living in the house next to me, she catches it all. She catches it all. I'm very frustrated. I'm very tired. This leak right here, if I have this done by the end of the day, I'll be tickled. But I got to get in there, and all this work, all this plastic, all this tarp that I did over the last 6 years has to be redone again. There's no time limit on compliance. That house is out of compliance. How many times have you told me in conversations there's no time limit on compliance? That house is out of compliance. No realtor will go near it. Like I said, I've gone through about a dozen local realtors. Not one realtor is going to put on paper that this was permitted by the town of Buckeye to be built out of compliance. I'll end there.